viewers, welcome to this week's edition of Health Options. I am Rabi, Abdallah. Many thanks for joining us on the program. Research indicates that Anopheles mosquitoes bite at night, with peak biting between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m., and malaria transmission is said to occur at these hours. Now, since there's no vaccine available for protection against malaria in spite of decades of research, chemoprophylaxis, which has to do with the use of anti-malaria drugs to prevent the development of malaria, is considered an alternative method that offers a fairly reliable protection against malaria. Malaria infection in pregnant women may be more severe than in non-pregnant women. In addition to that, the risk of adverse pregnant outcomes, including prematurity, abortion, and stillbirth, may be increased. Children of any age can contract malaria. However, the impact is more on those under 5 years of age, as studies show that quite a number of them die from malaria in this part of the world. Findings show that every year, more than 125 million people visit over 100 countries endemic for malaria. Up to 30,000 travelers are estimated to contract malaria, and late or wrong malaria diagnosis in their home country may make things worse for them. On this edition of Health Options, we take a look at malaria chemoprevention, especially in pregnant women, children under 5, and travelers to and from malaria endemic countries. Are you a lover of tea? Which is your favorite? Is it the black, white, yellow, or the green tea? Today's Nature Scanner is one you must not miss, as we get to tell you a lot of things you may not know about tea. Stay with us. Watching Health Options, and our focus on this segment is malaria chemoprevention in pregnancy, children under 5, and among travelers to and from malaria endemic countries. With me to take us through the discussion is the Chief Epidemiologist of the Federation, Dr. Godwin Ntadam. Dr. Ntadam, welcome to Health Options.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Okay, we're looking at malaria chemoprevention, and we know that there's some sort of, confusion here, because people have been advised not to indulge in self-medication. Yeah. And on the other hand, we're being told that you could take medication ahead of, you ever maybe coming down with malaria as a form of prevention. Can you shed light on that? Let's start with that.
Thank you very much. Malaria is one of the few diseases that is allowed to be managed at home. And that's why most of the anti-malaria medicines available are considered to be over-the-counter. You can advertise it, you can sell it in chemists. Yes, and it's because of the endemicity of the disease in these environments. And that is one. And again, the safety profile of the medicine. Anti-malaria medicines are relatively safe compared to many other medicines. So it is allowed to be taken at home, and it can be you can self-medicate with anti-malaria. Okay,
let's look at where malaria chemoprevention comes in now. We've mentioned the issue of malaria in pregnancy, malaria amongst children under 5, and even travelers to and fro malaria endemic countries. How is this applicable?
Yes, it's very important, because when you say malaria chemoprevention, is a chemo component of it is medicine, and you are preventing with medicine. There are other preventive measures like the use of nets, indoor residual spray, but when it comes to medicine prevention, that is where you call it chemoprevention. And there are some people that are considered the risk group or the risk population that need to protect themselves against the terrible effect of malaria. These include the pregnant women, children under 5, and non-immune travelers, especially even Nigerians that have been out of the country for quite some times and are coming back for holidays or any other thing, they are expected to be on chemoprevention. And chemoprevention is somehow different from chemoprophylaxis. Chemoprevention is when you give a treatment course. That is the same medicine you use for treatment to prevent malaria disease. And chemoprophylaxis, sometimes the medicine being used may not be for treatment as it were, but what they do is that they prevent the individual from getting the disease, that is from getting malaria.
Since the focus is malaria chemoprevention,
yes.
What are the procedures? For instance, now if I'm a traveler, you know, from a non-malaria endemic country to a malaria endemic, at what point am I supposed to take the medication? Is that before?
Yes.
Before I get to the country or as soon as I arrive?
Like when you are a Nigerian, most importantly, because that's where we've been having a lot of problems. When you're in Nigeria, you've been living in Nigeria for ages, you've developed what is known as partial immunity. That means when you have malaria attack, the cause may be moderated in a way. You may not have severe malaria as an adult. But when you leave the country and you stay for 2, 3, 4 years, you tend to lose that partial immunity. Your body fails to recognize malaria as a disease any longer. So when you are coming in, you are treated like somebody who has never had malaria. And the effect, the outcome is usually very, sometimes fatal in some individuals. So what we encourage people who are Nigerians and have been out of the country for a while, and people who are from non-malarious environment, that is countries that are not known for malaria, you have to start some form of medication at least 2 weeks before coming to endemic area. Not only Nigeria, any country that is endemic for malaria, and you continue about 2 to 1 month after leaving the country.
Okay, since it's been shown that malaria is a leading cause of maternal and child mortality in this part of the world, how is the chemoprevention applied in this regard, where children are concerned and pregnant women? Thank
you very much. This is really a major strategy by the National Malaria Elimination Program in the country. One, they care for the pregnant women. All pregnant women that are living in endemic area, it is thought that because they are in this environment, they, one time or the other, may be bitten by infected Anopheles mosquito, and they may have the parasite in them. And the bad thing about it is that the parasite may invade the placenta while the woman is not sick. The parasite within the placenta now begin to deplete nutrition for the fetus, that is the baby inside the womb. So the baby inside the womb tend to be seriously affected, while the pregnant woman is not affected. And that is why the government in its wisdom and the National Malaria Elimination Program has created a strategy, and that is the intermittent preventive treatment. All pregnant women living in endemic areas, especially in Nigeria, is expected to take at least 3 doses. That is their treatment courses of anti-malaria. And the medicine that has been recommended for that is the sulfadozine pyrimethamine tablets, to be taken as a full course at least 1 month apart from the moment the baby begins to kick till point of delivery. But at least you should take 3 minimum. And another group again are the children that are less than 5. Children that are less than 5 have not yet developed the partial immunity, because it takes time for you to develop even the partial immunity. You have to be bitten by infected mosquito. Your body has to recognize the infection and develop antibodies against it. But in children, this has not been done, or has not been properly done. So they are still, I can describe them as they've not acquired enough immunity to make them to modulate the effect of malaria. So these children, it is worse in the people living in the north, because
that's the northern part of Nigeria.
the northern part known as the Sahelian region. About 9 states fall within this category. States like Sokoto, Zamfara, Kebbi, Katsina, Borno, well, Gombe may not be one of them, part of Bauchi State, then the states are the northern fringes of the country altogether. They are like Kano. So all these states, children there, because the rainfall, we all know that malaria infection follows the rainfall pattern. Transmission is usually maybe between June to September, June, July, August, September. So within this period, these are the period you have a lot of the mosquitoes there and a lot of transmission. And because these children have really not developed the partial immunity, they fall sick and many of them die.
So how is the chemoprevention administered in this situation?
Yes, there is a strategy that has been introduced also to take care of the population in that environment, and that is the seasonal malaria chemoprevention. And seasonal malaria chemoprevention is administration of a therapeutic a treatment course for children in this area at least 4 times monthly within this period. And when these children have this infection, the possibility or probability of having an infection becomes so low and they may not even fall sick. Because as it is now, the bulk of mortality in Nigeria as a result of malaria still lies in the Sahelian region. So that is the way it is.
So is this being done in those states?
Unfortunately, I must say, the few areas that is being implemented is being supported by some partners. Majorly is Malaria Consortium. But what we actually are thinking is the states' governments should come into this, because the National Malaria Elimination Program does not really have resources to embark on this project. Though it is cheap, is a cheap strategy that if the state wants to do it, they can go ahead and do it.
Wow.
But unfortunately, most states have really not bought into this strategy, which is likely to save almost all the children from the deaths due to malaria.
Okay, we hope that the states will live up to their responsibility and save our under 5 from dying from malaria when it is preventable.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ntadam, for coming on Health Options.
It's my pleasure always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, drinking black tea in moderate amount is said to be generally safe for most people. Too much of it, however, may cause health problems, and that is mostly because of caffeine-related side effects. More on what you don't know about that favorite tea of yours as we take you to our Nature's Corner.
Originally, tea refers to the green tea, and scientifically it is called Camellia sinensis. That is what is called tea traditionally. Before a lot of materials, herbs, and all of that started coming up and to be called tea. So generally, what is called tea is beneficial, especially green tea, and because there are different types of tea. You have green tea, white tea, yellow tea. Call them. They are defined by sometimes by the color which they present. And the most beneficial of all of these is green tea, because green tea contains a lot of polyphenols, and these polyphenols are potent antioxidants, especially catechin. Catechin, specifically what we call the epigallocatechin gallate, is very, very potent and has a lot of medicinal properties. It has cardiovascular protecting property. It scientifically has been proven that tea has anti-diabetic property. It's been proven that it even enhances body immunity. So generally, it is of high medicinal value. That is to just tell us that tea is very, very important and good for human health. However, we also are quick to tell people, to tell ourselves that, look, tea is not a pharmaceutical dosage form. because a lot of people misconstrue the medicinal benefits that you get from tea with pharmaceutical value that we give to people when they are sick from our dosage forms. Unlike tablets, capsules, injections, solutions, and syrups, where we tell you, for example, take a tablet of a particular drug, one every 8 hours, that is 3 times a day, or we tell you, take 1 teaspoon of a cough syrup, for example, every 8 hours. Tea is not a dosage form, and therefore we do not advise people to begin to take tea because you hear that tea has a propensity to cure or manage a particular ailment. The reason why they have these medicinal values is because of the phytoconstituents that they contain. That is the reason. It is like, that's what we talk about herbal medicine. So that's also why you also hear of herbal tea. When you hear of herbal tea, people also don't know that we are talking of herbal tea because this tea has medicinal value. And so we call it herbal tea as a herbal medicine. But before we tell you to use any of these, we have to carry out studies in the development of the product itself to particular dose. In other words, we have to find out the dosage that is necessary for a particular ailment. We also have to tell you how stable it is in its form, and therefore the use of herbal tea for medicinal purposes is highly discouraged, except if you have consulted with people who are knowledgeable in this area, who will be able to tell you the volume or the amount of herbal tea in a particular volume of water, cold or hot, that you will need to take for a particular condition. My recommendation is that it is only green tea that people should take, because it is only green tea that has been proven scientifically to be of very high medicinal value. All other teas, let me say it here, that tea is beverage. Tea is beverage. So it is not only black tea that contains caffeine. There are so many teas that contain caffeine. And caffeine is a stimulant. It is like eating a lot of kola nut or smoking, where you inhale or smoke a lot of nicotine. These are all stimulants, and they are not good for human health. So we will not advise, I won't advise people to drink tea indiscriminately. That is why, but for beverage purposes, for social purposes, yes, but you are not going to be able to see a tea and know that it contains caffeine. Most teas contain caffeine. Most teas contain caffeine except green tea, because green tea is green. Green tea is pure. It has a lot of antioxidant properties. In fact, that is why we advise people to take between 1 to 5 cups of green tea daily. In fact, apart from water, the most highly consumed material is tea, and it hydrates a lot, especially if it's green tea. If you go to countries where they cultivate a lot of green teas, you see that tea is consumed like water, and that is because it's very good for the body, health-wise, and also in hydration. But the lot of teas that you find around these days, including teas that you find in so many of these patent medicine shops, contain a lot of caffeine. So if you are drinking those teas, you see a lot of people, they are even addicted to tea. You don't know why you're addicted? Because there's caffeine. Caffeine is, if you take caffeine all of the time, you become addicted to caffeine because it stimulates. It's like, in fact, you are not different from the people who are drinking codeine-containing cough syrup. There are people who are addicted to chewing kola nut. There are people who are addicted to smoking. The reason is not because of the smoke, it is because of the biomolecule, that is the nicotine or the caffeine, which stimulates, which makes you feel good, feel happy when you are not supposed to be happy. My general advice is, if you do not need to take tea, don't drink tea. Green tea is good for everyone, and everyone should drink tea. Drink green tea, actually, because it's very, very, very good. And green tea is green tea. But every other type of tea, before you consume, have chat with your medical doctor, with your physician, have chat with people who are knowledgeable in phytomedicines, and that is what we do. You see, if you look at, there are also some what is termed these days as nutritional supplements available even in outfits, even in pharmacies. You see nutritional supplements that are in tea bags, and we hide under these nutritional supplements to give people medicine. It's very dangerous to health. People should not take teas. There are so many teas, and I'm talking about all teas. And all teas that are not green, most teas that are not green contains caffeine. And I'm not going to list them out because it's dangerous to list them out, because the one you don't mention will be taken not to contain caffeine. So that is why I will not mention, but to tell people that green tea is the recommended tea for people to use health-wise, and then as a good beverage for its medicinal properties, especially antioxidant properties, which protects the heart, which even is anti-aging, and repairs the skin and all of that. When you consume anything that contains stimulants continuously over a long period of time, you develop hypertension. And when you develop hypertension, what it means is that essential organs of your body begin to collapse gradually. The kidney collapses, the liver collapses, your heart begins to wear down, and then you go into what we call cardiovascular shock or stroke, and you are gone. So these are the long-term effect of continuous consumption of stimulants, and with an example is caffeine, which is contained in a lot of teas.
As you enjoy your favorite tea, make moderation your watchword. And that does it on this edition of Health Options. You can go to our YouTube channel to watch the upload of these and other episodes of the program. Email us for your comments and contributions at healthoptions@nta.gov.ng. My name is Rabi Abdallah. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again.
This is the network service of the NTA. We now join our outside broadcast crew for a live